My name is Emily Carver. I'm 34. Last Saturday night at 8:47 p.m., I was standing in the marble lobby of the Ashton Grand in Greenwich, Connecticut, watching two security guards walk toward me with their hands already reaching for my elbows, while my stepmother Victoria stood 15 feet away in a $12,000 Valentino gown, her mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile, saying loud enough for everyone in the lobby to hear. "Security! Please remove this woman. She wasn't invited and she's causing a disruption." I wasn't causing a disruption. I was standing completely still, holding my mother's old leather portfolio against my chest like a shield, wearing the only black dress I owned that didn't have paint stains on the hem. My father's retirement party, 35 years in commercial real estate development, 200 guests, black tie, speeches and tributes, was happening in the ballroom behind those double doors, and I hadn't been invited. Of course I hadn't been invited. I hadn't been invited to anything in this family for 23 years. But I came anyway. "Ma'am," the taller security guard said, his voice low and professional, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "I'm his daughter," I said. My voice came out steady. I was surprised by that. "Jonathan Carver's daughter." Victoria's laugh was bright and cold, like champagne glasses touching. "Oh, Emily, still trying to make everything about you." She turned to the small crowd that had gathered, women in jewel-toned gowns, men in tuxedos, all of them watching with that particular expression people get when they're witnessing something uncomfortable but can't look away. "This is exactly what I was telling you about, Margaret. The instability, the desperate need for attention." My face burned so hot I could feel my pulse in my teeth. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. The security guard's hand closed around my upper arm. Not rough, but firm. "Let's go quietly," he said. I could have fought, I could have screamed, I could have made the scene Victoria was already describing to everyone within earshot. Instead, I looked directly at my father, who was standing behind Victoria with his hand on her shoulder, his face carefully blank in that way I'd learned to recognize when I was 12 years old. The way that meant he'd already made his choice, and it wasn't me. "Okay," I said, "I'll go." I turned and walked out through those glass doors, across the marble lobby, past the fountain with its three-tier cascade, out into the October cold. The parking lot was half full of Mercedes and Teslas and one Bentley with vanity plates that said VCLANG, Victoria's car, personalized, of course. My 2011 Honda Civic was parked in the back corner, under a light that had burned out. I got in. I closed the door. I sat in the dark for exactly 47 seconds, counting my heartbeats, letting the adrenaline drain out of my hands. Then I opened my mother's portfolio and got to work. Let me take you back 23 years to the last time I felt like I belonged in my own family. I was 11. It was August, 3 weeks before 6th grade started. My mother had been in hospice for 6 days. The room smelled like jasmine. Her signature perfume, L'Artisan Parfumeur, the one she wore every single day, and underneath that, the sharper smell of antiseptic and something sweet and wrong that I later learned was dying. She was awake, barely. Her hand in mine felt like bird bones wrapped in tissue paper. "Emily," she whispered, "my little architect." That was her name for me. Ever since I was 7 and she'd caught me building a scale model of our house out of popsicle sticks and glue, measuring everything with a ruler I'd borrowed from her drafting table. She was a restoration architect, specialized in saving forgotten 19th century buildings, the kind everyone else wanted to tear down and replace with parking lots. She'd shown me how to read blueprints, how to see the bones of a building underneath the rot and neglect. "I made you something," she said. Her voice was so quiet I had to lean close. "It's in my desk, the bottom drawer. There's a false bottom. You have to press the back left corner and it pops up. Do you understand?" I nodded. I was crying, trying not to let her see, wiping my eyes on the hospital blanket. "There's a letter. For when you're ready." She squeezed my hand with what little strength she had left. Don't show your father. Not yet. Wait until you need it. You'll know when. I don't understand. You will. She smiled, and for just a second she looked like herself again. I will always find you, my little architect, even when I'm gone. She died 17 hours later. My father remarried 8 months after that. Victoria Lang moved into our house on a Tuesday in April. I remember the exact date, April 15th, because it was tax day and my father made a joke about how he was getting a dependent instead of a refund. Victoria laughed like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. She had a daughter, Sophia, who was 9, blonde, and smiled with all her teeth showing whenever adults were watching. The first thing Victoria did was redecorate. My mother's things, her drafting table, her architecture books, her framed Historic Preservation Society award, went into storage, then into the garage, then, I assume, into the dump, because I never saw them again. The second thing she did was explain the new rules. Your mother and I had very different ideas about family, she said. We were sitting at the kitchen table, just the two of us. My father was at work, Sophia was at ballet. Victoria had made tea, some herbal thing that smelled like grass clippings, and poured 2 cups. She didn't ask if I wanted any. Your mother believed in independence, self-sufficiency. I believe in unity. We're going to be a real family now, Emily. That means putting the family first. Do you understand? I was 12 years old. I said yes because I didn't know what else to say. Good. So here's how this is going to work. Your college fund, the one your mother set up, that's family money now. We'll use it for family expenses. Sophia's ballet is very expensive and she has real talent. We need to invest in that. You understand, don't you? Family first. I remember my stomach dropping. But Mom said, your mother isn't here anymore. Victoria's voice didn't rise. It didn't have to. And your father agrees with me. We're a blended family now. Everything gets shared equally. Except nothing was equal. Sophia got the bigger bedroom. Sophia got new clothes for school. Sophia got piano lessons and art camp and a sweet 16 party at the country club with 200 guests. I got hand-me-downs from Victoria's sister's daughter and a part-time job at the library that paid $7.25 an hour and a lecture every time I asked for gas money. When I was 14, Victoria sat me down again. Same kitchen table, same grass-clipping tea. Your father and I have been talking, she said, about college. We think community college would be a better fit for you, more practical. You're not really the university type, Emily. You're more hands-on. Trade school, maybe. Your mother was an architect, but she had natural talent. That's not something that can be taught. My hands were shaking. I folded them in my lap so she wouldn't see. I have a 4.2 GPA. GPA isn't everything. Sophia has that special something, that spark. Colleges look for that. She smiled. Besides, state school is expensive. We need to be smart with family resources. Sophia went to Boston University. Full tuition, room and board, sorority fees. I went to Westchester Community College and lived at home and worked 30 hours a week at a Barnes & Noble to pay for textbooks. I told myself it didn't matter. I could transfer after 2 years. I could still become an architect like my mom. I could still restore old buildings and save forgotten places. I just had to work harder than everyone else. That was fine. I was used to it. Then I turned 18 and tried to access the college fund my mother had set up. It was gone. All $127,000 of it, withdrawn over the course of 4 years in increments, ranging from $8,500 to $31,000. Family expenses, the bank statement said. Authorized by Jonathan Carver, trustee. I confronted my father that night. He was in his study, reviewing blueprints for some new development. Victoria was at book club. Sophia was spending the night at a friend's house. Dad, I said. My voice was shaking. My college fund. Where is it? He didn't look up. We discussed this, Emily. Family expenses. You stole from me. That got his attention. He looked up slowly, his expression more tired than angry. I didn't steal anything. I'm the trustee. I made decisions in the family's best interest. Sophia got to go to BU. I'm working night shifts to buy accounting textbooks. Sophia had scholarships, merit-based. You didn't qualify. That was a lie. I'd seen the BU financial aid package, $42,000 a year, no scholarships mentioned. But I didn't have proof. I didn't have anything except this feeling in my chest like something was cracking open and I couldn't stop it. Mom left that money for me, I said. Your mother left everything to me, to manage as I saw fit. That's what trustees do. He went back to his blueprints. This conversation is over. I stood there for 30 seconds, maybe 40, waiting for him to look at me again. He didn't. I should have remembered my mother's letter then. I should have gone to her old desk, pressed the back left corner of the bottom drawer, found whatever she'd hidden there. But I was 18 and furious and heartbroken, and I didn't want a letter from a ghost. I wanted my father to choose me, just once, just this one time. He never did. I finished my associate's degree in 3 years, working full-time, sleeping 4 hours a night. I transferred to SUNY Purchase for architecture. I graduated with $47,000 in student loans and a job offer from a small firm in Beacon that specialized in historic preservation, my mother's specialty. The pay was $38,000 a year. I took it anyway. Victoria told everyone I'd dropped out of real college and was working construction. I was 23 when I got my first major project, an old Carnegie Library in the Hudson Valley, built in 1903, abandoned since 1987. The town wanted to tear it down and build a Walgreens. I spent 8 months documenting every architectural detail, every hand-carved oak panel, every stained glass window. I wrote a proposal for restoration that won a state preservation grant. We saved the building. It's a community arts center now. The Historic Preservation Society gave me their Rising Star Award. My mother's old colleague, Sarah Klein, was at the ceremony. She'd worked with my mom for 15 years. She hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. Your mother would be so proud, she said. She always said you had the eye, the gift for seeing what others miss. I wish she was here, I said. She is. Sarah pulled back, looked at me carefully. Emily, has your father ever mentioned your mother's trust documents? The sealed ones from 2004? I blinked. What trust documents? Her face changed. Oh, honey, you don't know. That's when everything started to unravel. Sarah took me to coffee. A small place in Cold Spring, far enough from home that we wouldn't run into anyone. She ordered us both black coffee and sat across from me with her hands wrapped around her mug, like she was trying to warm them, even though it was July and 79 degrees outside. Your mother knew she was dying 6 months before she told anyone, Sarah said. She spent that time preparing, getting her affairs in order, making sure you'd be taken care of. She left me a letter, I said. I never opened it. There's more than a letter. There's a trust, a segregated trust, separate from anything your father controlled, your mother's family money, the Carver inheritance from her grandmother, $17 million. It was supposed to be yours when you turned 25. My coffee went cold in my hand. 17 million. Your mother put it in an irrevocable trust. Your father was never supposed to touch it. You were the sole beneficiary. Sarah's voice went quiet. Emily, when was the last time you heard anything about that money? Never. I've never heard anything about any money. That's what I was afraid of. She reached across the table, put her hand over mine. Victoria has been telling people, garden club people, charity board people, that you have mental health issues, that you're unstable, that you made claims about being owed money from your mother's estate, but it's all delusions from grief. She's been doing it for years. I felt like I'd been slapped. What? I heard her myself 3 months ago, at the Historical Society fundraiser. She said you'd become fixated on the idea that your mother had hidden money, that you'd harassed your father about it. that they'd had to set boundaries because you were becoming obsessive. Sarah squeezed my hand. I didn't believe her. I knew your mother. I knew what she'd set up. But a lot of people did believe her, Emily. Victoria is very convincing. I sat there in that coffee shop for 20 minutes after Sarah left, staring at my reflection in the window. I looked like my mother. Same dark hair, same narrow face, same hands that were always a little ink-stained from sketching. I'd built a career doing exactly what she'd done. I'd won an award for exactly the kind of work she'd loved. And my stepmother had been telling people I was crazy. I drove home. I went up to the attic where they'd stored my mother's old desk after the renovation 5 years ago. I found it under a drop cloth, covered in dust, one leg broken from being moved too many times without care. I crouched down, opened the bottom drawer, pressed the back left corner. The false bottom popped up. Inside was a manila envelope, water-stained along one edge, sealed with red wax. My name in my mother's handwriting. For Emily when she's ready. I opened it right there on the attic floor. My hands were shaking so hard I almost tore the paper. The letter was 2 pages, handwritten on her old letterhead. Evelyn Carver Architecture and Preservation, with the little sketched building logo she'd designed herself. My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And Victoria is already doing what I knew she would do. I'm sorry I couldn't stop this while I was alive. I tried to warn your father, but he sees what he wants to see. He always has. Do you remember the day we restored the firehouse in the Catskills? You were 9. We found that beautiful tin ceiling hidden under layers of water damage and dropped acoustic tiles. You said, "Mom, how did you know it was there?" I told you. Because I know what people hide when they're ashamed of something beautiful. Victoria is hiding something beautiful. You. And she's doing it because she knows what you're worth. The original trust documents are with my attorney, Marcus Webb. His office is at 847 Post Road, Darien. The copy I've left you is incomplete, not enough to prove anything on its own, but enough for you to know I'm telling the truth. Don't go to him until you have to. Victoria will try to discredit you. She'll say you're unstable, that you're making things up, that you're obsessed with money that doesn't exist. Don't argue with her. Evidence doesn't need your defense. Inside this envelope, copy of the segregated trust document, establishing you as sole beneficiary. Bank statements from 2004 to 2006, showing the initial $17 million deposit. My handwritten notes, documenting Victoria's requests for loans that I refused. List of witnesses who knew about the trust. Marcus Webb, Sarah Klein, my sister Patricia. Wait for the right moment. Not when you're angry, not when you're desperate. When you're ready. When you've built something of your own that no one can take from you. You are not the burden Victoria says you are. You are not the disappointment your father's silence suggests. You are my daughter. You are an architect. You see what others miss. You save what others abandon. The world needs people like you. All my love, your little architect's biggest fan. Mom. I read it 3 times. Then I sat on that dusty attic floor and cried for 20 minutes straight, the kind of crying that makes no sound, just shaking and tears and something unlocking in my chest that had been bolted shut for 11 years. Then I called Marcus Webb. His secretary answered. I said, "My name is Emily Carver. I'm Evelyn Carver's daughter. I need to make an appointment." There was a pause. Then, "Hold, please." 30 seconds later, a man's voice, older, careful. "Ms. Carver, I've been waiting for your call for a very long time." "You knew about the trust?" "I drafted it. Your mother made me promise not to contact you unless you came to me first. She said you'd know when it was time." His voice softened. "I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm sorry it took this long." We met the next day. His office was exactly where my mother had said it would be, in a brick building with white shutters and a blue door. Marcus Webb was 72, white-haired, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He had a file on his desk with my mother's name on it. It was 4 inches thick. Your mother prepared for this like she was restoring a condemned building, he said. Every beam reinforced, every crack documented, every code violation noted. She knew Victoria would try to claim the trust was invalid, or that you'd waived your rights, or that the money had been spent on your upbringing. So she made sure there was no ambiguity. He opened the file. The trust is irrevocable. You are the sole beneficiary. At age 25, you were supposed to receive notification. At age 30, full access. You're 34 now. That means 9 years of unauthorized delays. Victoria told people I was mentally unstable, I said. I know, your mother predicted that too. He pulled out a document. She wrote a clause specifically prohibiting any claims of incompetence from being used to delay distribution. You'd need to be declared legally incompetent by a court. Has that happened? No. Then the money is yours. All 17 million, plus accrued interest, approximately 4.2 million as of last month, minus, unfortunately, 2.3 million in unauthorized withdrawals. My stomach dropped. Withdrawals? Your father made them. As trustee of what he claimed was a unified family estate, he used the money for what he called family expenses: private school for Sophia, vacation properties, personal shopping. He seems to have believed the trust was part of his general authority as executor of your mother's will. It wasn't. Marcus's voice went flat. It was fraud. And because he did it as trustee, he's personally liable for repayment. So is anyone who knowingly benefited, which means Victoria and Sophia. There's also a margin call liability of approximately $13 million on accounts he used your trust as collateral for. I couldn't breathe. He owes $13 million? He will, once the trust is properly activated and the segregation is enforced. The accounts will collapse. All the linked investments will be recalled. Everything he built on your mother's money will disappear. Marcus looked at me carefully. Are you ready for that? Because once we start this process, your father will lose everything. Victoria will lose everything. There's no middle ground here. Your mother made sure of that. I thought about 18-year-old me, standing in my father's study, being told my college fund was gone. I thought about every time Victoria had smiled at someone while explaining my instability. I thought about my mother, dying, using her last months to build me a fortress I didn't even know existed. Yes, I said. I'm ready. It took 6 weeks to assemble everything. Marcus filed the trust activation paperwork. We notified the banks. We compiled evidence of every withdrawal, every unauthorized expense, every lie Victoria had told. We documented my career, my degree, my preservation projects, my award from the Historic Preservation Society. We got statements from Sarah Klein and 3 other colleagues who'd witnessed Victoria's smear campaign. And then we waited. The invitation to my father's retirement party came in the mail 4 days before the event. Except it didn't. It went to Sophia's address. She'd moved into a condo downtown that my father had purchased, $680,000, waterfront, and she posted it on Instagram with the caption, "Can't wait to celebrate Dad's amazing career. Family means everything." I wasn't tagged. I wasn't mentioned. I wasn't invited. Sarah Klein forwarded me the post. "I'm so sorry, honey. Do you want me to say something?" "No," I texted back. "I'll handle it." I bought a black dress. I printed out my mother's trust documents and put them in her old leather portfolio. I drove to Greenwich on Saturday night and parked in the back corner of the Ashton Grand's parking lot under a burned-out light. And when Victoria had me removed by security at 8:47 p.m., I walked out calmly, got in my car, and made a phone call. "Marcus," I said, "it's time." "Are you sure?" His voice was gentle. "Once I execute this, there's no going back." "I'm sure." "Okay, give me 45 minutes." I sat in my car and watched the clock on my dashboard tick forward. 8:51, 8:52, 8:53. Inside the ballroom, my father was probably giving his speech, thanking his colleagues, his clients, his family. Victoria would be standing beside him in that $12,000 dress, holding his hand, smiling like she'd built his success with her own two hands. At 9:34 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Done. All segregated funds transferred to your sole access account. All linked accounts frozen. Margin calls executed. Repayment demands sent via certified mail. Legal notifications filed with all parties. A second text. Your mother would be proud. I sat there for another 3 minutes. Then I got out of my car, smoothed my dress, picked up my mother's portfolio, and walked back into the Ashton Grand. The retirement party was in full swing. A string quartet played something classical in the corner. Waiters circulated with champagne and canapes. 200 guests in black tie and evening gowns filled the ballroom, talking and laughing under chandeliers that probably cost more than my annual salary. Victoria saw me first. She was standing near the bar with 3 women I recognized from the garden club, her face flushed from champagne and triumph. When she spotted me walking across the marble floor, her expression went from shock to fury in under 2 seconds. "What are you doing here?" She crossed the room in 6 sharp steps, her heels clicking like gunshots. "I had you removed. Security." "They're busy," I said. My voice was calm. I was surprised by how calm I sounded. "I'm not here to make a scene, Victoria. I'm here to give Dad his retirement gift." My father appeared behind her, his face tight. "Emily, this isn't the time." "Actually, it's exactly the time." I opened my mother's portfolio, pulled out the trust documents, held them so everyone nearby could see the Historic Preservation Society letterhead, the official seals, the signatures. "Did you ever tell anyone here about Mom's segregated trust? The $17 million she left specifically to me?" The conversations around us went quiet. Victoria's face lost color. "I don't know what you're talking about," my father said, but his voice wavered. "You don't?" I pulled out the bank statements. "These withdrawals, 2.3 million over 9 years, family expenses, Sophia's tuition, your vacation properties, the down payment on the condo. You authorized all of them as trustee." I looked at Victoria. "And you spent them knowing they weren't yours." "That's absurd," Victoria said, but her voice was too loud, defensive. "Your father managed the family estate. Everything was properly allocated. The trust was segregated, irrevocable. I was the sole beneficiary. Mom made sure of that before she died." I pulled out my mother's letter. "She knew you'd do this, Victoria. She wrote me a letter explaining exactly how you'd try to steal from me, how you'd call me unstable, how you'd erase me from family events. She documented everything." Sophia appeared at Victoria's elbow, her face confused. "Mom? What's she talking about?" "Nothing. She's lying. I'm not lying. My mother's attorney has spent 6 weeks documenting your fraud. Every withdrawal, every unauthorized expense, every time you told someone I was mentally ill to cover up what you'd done." I looked at my father. "You used my trust as collateral for margin accounts. Did you know that? Marcus Webb executed the segregation tonight. All those accounts? Frozen. All those margin calls? Activated. You owe $13 million in repayment liability. You have 30 days to pay." My father's face went gray. "What did you do?" "I activated my inheritance, the one Mom left me, the one you stole." I felt something loosen in my chest. Relief, maybe, or just exhaustion. "I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because you had me thrown out of your retirement party like I was nobody, like I didn't exist. I wanted you to know that I do exist. Mom made sure of that." Victoria's voice rose, sharp and desperate. "You ungrateful little. We raised you. We gave you a home." "You spent my college fund on Sophia's sorority fees," I said quietly. "You told people I was crazy so they wouldn't believe me when I figured out what you'd done." You erased me from family photos and Christmas cards and birthday parties. You didn't raise me, Victoria. You just made sure I knew I wasn't wanted. The ballroom was completely silent now, 200 people watching. I could see my father's colleagues, his clients, his friends. I could see the recognition on their faces, the way they were starting to understand. Sophia's voice was small. Is that true? The trust? Was it real? Of course it wasn't real, Victoria snapped. She's making this up. She's always been. The trust was real, my father said. His voice was barely a whisper. Evelyn set it up before she died. I thought it was all part of the family estate. I didn't realize. You realized, I said. You just didn't care. He looked at me then, really looked at me, for the first time in 23 years. And I saw it in his eyes, the moment he understood what he'd lost. Not the money. Me. Emily, he started. Don't. I closed the portfolio. I didn't come here to hurt you. I came here to stop letting you hurt me. There's a difference. I turned to walk out. The crowd parted. No one tried to stop me. Behind me, I heard Victoria's voice, high and cracking. This is ridiculous. Jonathan, tell them. Tell them she's lying. And my father's voice broken. She's not lying. I walked through the lobby, past the fountain, out into the October cold. I got in my car. I sat there for 5 minutes, shaking, not from fear or anger, but from something else. Something that felt like freedom. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah Klein. I'm watching Sophia's Instagram stories. What did you do? I texted back. I told the truth. 37 days later, my father declared bankruptcy. The vacation properties were sold. The condo was foreclosed. Sophia had to withdraw from graduate school because her tuition payments bounced. Victoria filed for separation and moved back to her sister's house in Westchester. I didn't watch any of it happen. I was too busy. Marcus Webb had recommended a financial advisor who specialized in inherited wealth. We set up the Evelyn Carver Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to saving forgotten 19th century buildings. Our first project was an abandoned schoolhouse in Beacon. Our second was a historic firehouse in the Catskills. By month 6, we'd saved 4 buildings and employed 11 architects. My father called me once, 3 months after the retirement party. I almost didn't answer. Emily, he said when I picked up. His voice sounded older, tired. I need to tell you something. Okay. I'm sorry. I should have said that a long time ago. I should have said it every day for the last 23 years. He was quiet for a moment. Your mother tried to tell me, before she died. She said Victoria would try to take everything. I didn't believe her. I thought she was being paranoid. I don't know what I thought. That love would be enough, maybe. That we could all just be a family. We could have been, I said, if you'd chosen me even once. I know. Another pause. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. What I did. What I let happen. Your mother knew. She always knew. Yeah, I said. She did. We hung up. I haven't talked to him since. Sophia sent me an email 6 months later. Short. Awkward. She said she didn't know about the trust until that night. She said Victoria had told her I'd chosen to distance myself from the family, that I was too proud to accept help. She said she was sorry. She said she understood if I never wanted to speak to her again. I wrote back, I don't blame you for what Victoria did, but I can't have a relationship with you right now. Maybe someday, just not now. She never responded. That was okay. A year and 2 months after the retirement party, I went to visit my mother's grave. It's in a small cemetery in Katona, under an oak tree. The headstone is simple. Evelyn Carver, 1962 to 2003. Beloved mother and architect. I brought flowers, jasmine, her favorite. I sat on the grass and told her about the foundation, about the buildings we'd saved, about the award I'd just won from the National Trust for Historic Preservation for our work on the Carnegie Library. You were right, I said out loud, even though I felt ridiculous talking to a headstone. About everything. About Victoria. About waiting. About building something they couldn't take. I traced her name with my fingers. I miss you. I wish you were here to see this. The wind picked up, rustling the oak leaves. For just a second, I smelled jasmine. Now, 14 months later, I'm sitting in my office, a restored carriage house in Cold Spring that used to be a storage unit, looking at the architectural renderings for our next project. An 1887 opera house in the Hudson Valley that's been abandoned since 1952. It's going to take 3 years and $4 million to restore. We're going to do it anyway. My phone is full of texts from preservation societies and historical boards in small towns with old buildings they can't afford to save. We can't take every project, but we take the ones that matter, the ones everyone else has given up on. I have a cat now. Her name is Jasmine. She's sleeping on the windowsill, in a patch of November sunlight. Sometimes I think about my father, about whether he's okay, whether he's found some kind of peace. I don't check. That part of my life is closed, not locked, just closed. Like an old building that's been stabilized and sealed, waiting for the right time to restore it. Maybe someday. Maybe never. I get to choose. If you've ever had to walk away from people who were supposed to protect you, type "I walked away" in the comments. Or if you chose to stay and set boundaries that actually held, type "I stayed and fought." Both are brave. Both matter. Both are valid. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. And thank you for listening to my mother's daughter tell her truth.